I don't know if it's really, if this is the motivation, but certainly history will record if J.R. Smith hits a big shot in these playoffs, which will be memorable just because of the circumstances alone, and the Lakers wind up winning the championship. That will become part of NBA lore. Him making good and righting the wrong and winning a championship with the Lakers will be one of those stories that, we tell for generations. So in terms of the narrative of this whole thing, it works great. And in terms of the basketball, he's long in the tooth, but, he can probably still 3-and-D.
So by now, I'm sure you've probably heard that the Lakers are going to sign J.R. Smith to replace Avery Bradley in their roster. Avery Bradley made it public that he would not be traveling with the Lakers to the bubble in Orlando, and so the Lakers have been looking for guys to replace him since then. And just in the last few days, we've started to see more talk of them signing J.R. Smith, and these would end up being confirmed. But what exactly would this mean for the Lakers going forward? And will he actually be able to fill in for a guy like Avery Bradley and fit in? Well, today, we're going to be talking about his playstyle, his weaknesses, and ultimately, we're going to be determining whether this increases their chance of winning the championship or not. But before we begin, if you're new here, I'm Double D. I'm a huge basketball fan and I make NBA videos here on YouTube. So if you're also an NBA fan, or just a basketball fan in general, feel free to hit the sub button and click the bell to be notified when I upload more videos just like this one. Alright, let's get into the video.
He's not a bad teammate. He can shoot, he can get streaky, he can explode on you, he can do some good things, some big things. Plus, if you recall, at the time he was in Cleveland, he was arguably their best perimeter defender. So you take all of those things into consideration and consider the actual individual he's replacing, which is Avery Bradley, who's one of the elite on-ball defenders in the game. Avery Bradley can really defend. If you've got to replace him with somebody, what are you looking for? You're looking for somebody who can defend, and you're looking for somebody who can hit some shots from the outside.
Okay, so the first thing to keep in mind with the signing is that while the Lakers are losing a pretty good two-way player in Avery Bradley, they're also getting a really good spot-up shooter in J.R. Smith. On offense, this can be a huge help to this Lakers team, which, they're already pretty good on offense, but this will make them even better. This season, Avery Bradley shot 36.4% from 3 on 3.5 attempts per game. J.R. Smith for his career shoots 37.3% from 3 on over 5 attempts per game. And in his last full season, shot 37.5% from 3 on 5 attempts. In his career, he consistently shoots around 36 to 39% on around 6 to 7 attempts per game, and so you can probably expect him to space the floor just a little bit better than Avery Bradley. And plus, the Lakers are very well known as one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league this season. This season, they're shooting 35% from 3, which is 18th in the league, and they're making just 11 threes a game, which is 22nd in the league. And so he could provide some much-needed perimeter scoring to this Lakers team that has an emphasis on paint presence with guys like Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee, and this would make them even harder to defend. But another thing to think about is the fact that J.R. Smith will be yet another veteran the Lakers will be adding to their roster. Because while the Lakers have some veterans, they also have a lot of young talent that aren't really used to being in playoff situations. Nobody's really used to being in this exact situation, but you get the point. The Lakers will need some of that experience going forward. Something to also keep in mind is the fact that J.R. Smith has played with LeBron more than anybody else on the entire roster. And this is huge because he'll have an idea of what to expect right away. Some things might be different given the system change and the different personnel, but his role will likely be similar to his role in Cleveland. In his time with LeBron, he shot 38.3% from 3 on 6.1 attempts per game. LeBron set J.R. Smith up for 124 catch-and-shoot threes, and on those attempts, he shot 41.3% from 3. And on catch-and-shoot attempts overall, he shot 40.9%. But that's not all, because one of the things he was used for on Cleveland was to set screens and create mismatches for the opposing team. And this is where he's most dangerous. It's unclear how any of this will turn out though, because we also need to keep in mind that the last time J.R. Smith played a game in the NBA was in November of 2018. But I'd imagine that with all the training teams will be going through before the season starts again, he'll be in pretty good shape for the season. And just to keep in mind, the reason that J.R. Smith was let go by Cleveland in the first place was because they were in a rebuild mindset and wanted to buy out his contract. He didn't want this and instead asked to be traded. And so him and Cleveland mutually agreed for him to stay away from the team while they tried to find a deal. But they would eventually end up just waiving his contract. But all this being said, I believe he can still be valuable on a contending team. And you also have to keep in mind that when the season does start up, in the regular season games, there's the possibility that the Lakers won't play LeBron and Anthony Davis as much as usual, given they'll very likely have the first seed already locked up. And so we might see J.R. Smith end up getting even more minutes than he would have, which could end up giving him more playtime once the playoffs actually start. But these are all the positives of having J.R. Smith on a team with LeBron James, but of course, this is J.R. Smith we're talking about. So let's also go into the negatives of having him, especially not after playing for so long. So, I just had to jog your memory of the last time J.R. Smith and LeBron James played together. And to be honest, he even confused me because I thought I read the score wrong. But, while the memes have possibly clouded everything he's ever done, we still need to remember that he's a decent player. But of course, we also need to keep in mind the negatives of having him. These aren't really negatives for him as a player as much as they're just possible downgrades from Avery Bradley, which I guess can be a negative, but you know what I mean. So the biggest thing to talk about is the fact that he's not the defender that Avery Bradley is. His defense had been on a steady decline for the last 2 seasons with Cleveland. In J.R. Smith's and LeBron's first season together, the Cavs' defensive rating with LeBron and J.R. Smith on the court was 101.9 in the regular season and 102.6 in the playoffs. And just so everyone is clear, a lower defensive rating means better defense. And so we can see this having a steady increase for every season they were both there. And J.R. Smith is now 2 years older, so I can imagine that he's probably gotten slightly worse in those 2 years given that he's now older and he hasn't been playing. But he could still probably be decent on that end of the floor. Another thing to keep in mind with J.R. Smith is that he has a long history of being a bad shot taker. Bad shot maker sometimes, but still a bad shot taker. And with how much tougher the West is than usual this season, plus how much tougher it is in general than the Eastern Conference, the Lakers' margin for error is going to be a lot smaller than when he was with Cleveland, when it was clear that they were coming out of the East every year except for 2018. But once again, the positives will far outweigh the negatives of J.R. Smith being signed to the Lakers. He was consistently one of the best perimeter defenders for Cleveland while he was there, and given how much more championship and playoff experience he has than a lot of guys on the team, I think that this can be huge for them. And plus, you also have to consider the fact that J.R. Smith is going to know right away what LeBron is going to expect out of him, and so there's no need to, build up that chemistry between them, which there would be almost no time for that anyway. And plus, we already know that, despite what happened in Game 1, they still have a lot of respect for each other. With LeBron saying just earlier this year in February on his Instagram, that boy will take and make the toughest shots. We called him 911 because when there's an emergency, give it to him and it's cash. Hey, these are his words, not mine, so don't laugh at me. But once J.R. Smith said, his work ethic and his drive changed my life, I looked at it from a different perspective. I was a person who always worked. I was so insecure in my game that I didn't really want people to see, and he helped me. There's a reason why you're here. He pounded that shit into my head so much that every day I was at the gym like 3-4 times a day. And so that chemistry will be really great for the rest of the team going forward. And that's why the Lakers signing J.R. Smith was a great move that may end up being the extra thing they need to possibly win a championship this season. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.
All right, let's get to the question that people want to know.
Yeah.
The infamous moment, Cleveland Golden State. All you guys got to do is basically protect the ball, grab the ball, hold on to it. No, not hold on to it. I think you guys could have scored.
Should have scored.
You should have scored. I'm wrong here.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Don't worry about it.
I'll finally get your side of it now.
That's what
Yeah,
I
get
thought.
off his back. It's an innocent mistake.
It's an honest mistake.
It's an honest mistake. The one thing that made me laugh, you dribbled it out, you called a timeout, and Brian's just doing this to you, and you go. You gave him look back like it was such an innocent, like, come on, man, God.
Man, it messed me up because the play before that, we missed the free throw. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, all right, because we talked to the coaches. I'm like, all right, cool, we got that one. We We about to get back on defense. You get the rebound. I'm like, okay, we good. Game over.
Yeah.
Man, what the you doing? God.